Hey there. Today I want to talk about pricing. So, pricing is one of the hardest things in the world for content creators, business owners, small businesses, service based entrepreneurs to do. Why? Because I think part of it is psychology and it kind of gets in the way of what you're trying to do. So, when I started as a speaker, when I started as a coach, when I started as any sort of service based entrepreneur, I struggled with the whole idea of pricing. So it's important. I want to talk about a bit about how to make pricing something that is easy for you and to leverage in the best way possible. So what I want to share with you today is that most people think that pricing is like math. It's not. It's psychology. In fact, it's mostly your psychology. So one of the things that I think you have to think about with pricing is that pricing is downstream of clarity, which means that instead of pricing first, you have to have clarity on who you are, what you're doing, what the strategy is, who you're targeting, what they're like. And from that, you can come up with the right pricing strategy. But ultimately, if you can clearly articulate who this program or package is for, and if you can understand the painful problem of what people are going through, what they're dealing with, and you can also say, look, this is the outcome you're going to get by doing this program, then you're going to get much, much better results with what you're pricing. Then what happens is the price starts to feel obvious. I'll give you an example. When I used to run my speaker mastermind program, the goal was, okay, you know what? Imagine if you can get 3 paid speaking gigs and how that would start to build up your brand, to get your voice out there, and you can start getting some extra revenue in there. And people start imagining, what they're charging for the 3 speaking gigs and what they're going to get. And so let's say, for example, they're thinking, oh, I can get a speaking gig for, 2 grand 3 times, that's $6,000. So if I say my price is going to be 3,000 for my program, it's not so bad for them, right? You have to make sure they understand what's kind of going on. The price feels obvious to them. And what you're doing is, when it comes to the right price, you're not charging for effort. You're charging for certainty. That's why I'll say things like, I can guarantee you 3 paid speaking gigs, or I can guarantee you land a TEDx talk, or I can help monetize your business an extra 20 to 50% better through your digital strategy in the next 6 to 12 months. That's why you should join me. And so that's kind of what you're talking about when it comes to price. Now, a common mistake that we see when it comes to pricing, there's a bunch of things. Well, one would be based on pricing based on competitors, which are the outcomes. I mean, there are, so for example, I'm a speaker. I run TLB Club, and it's a networking community for small business owners, and I also run my TEDx Mastery program. Now, those are 3 different price points. But if I compared myself to other speakers, or I compared myself to other community membership groups, or I compare myself to other people doing TEDx programs, it would get really difficult. So don't worry about the competitors. Think about the outcomes and think about the value you're going to provide with that outcome for them, how it transforms them, and what you're bringing to the table. That makes a big difference, right? Hourly thinking in a transformational world. A lot of people think about, how much do I charge per hour? Again, what you want to think about is more about the transformation. If you work with me and you get the transformation, what is that worth for you? So, for example, let's use TLB Club. We say, if you work with me, I will increase your monetization strategy for your digital content by 20%. So, if you're making, let's say, on the low side, let's say you're only making like 40,000 a year with your business because you're just kind of a side hustle for you. If we increase that by 20%, that's $8,000. If you're making $120,000 per year with your business, we increase by 20%. Now we're talking another $24,000, right? So the transformation, what sells it even better. Another big mistake is this idea of discounting before it's even being asked. I mean, look, there's people there who always want to negotiate everything. They want to discount things. And I'm not a big believer in discounting anymore. I used to do it a lot. So you should be saying, look, this is the price. This is the value I'm giving. And that's what it's all about. And there might be extreme cases where you might consider this, but for the most part, don't tell them all these things up front, right? When you price, the price should be the price. I'm also not a fan of Black Friday sales and things like that. So don't try to discount before being asked. And then the other thing that it's a big mistake too is apologizing for the price. Oh yeah, sorry, it's a bit of an investment. It's yeah, like I get it. don't apologize. And your tone and how you do this really matters when you talk about your price, whether you talk about it on a sales call or you talk about it in person or you even talk about it like in a video like this. Um, the tone matters, right? Uh, Ultimately, when I share my price, I'm pretty confident with like, this is what the price is. I know my market, I know my audience, I know what it's worth. And so here's what it is. What do you think? And that's it. Now, on the far side of things, how do you know when your price is too low, right? So the way you know your price too low is if you hesitate before saying it. And I'll share my personal experience. When I first started coaching, I was not new. I was new to it. Didn't know how to price it. I was like, oh, so it's going to be $200 an hour, or I was thinking maybe, or I had like multiple things. How about that? It's 150 per hour, or it's 500 a month, or we can do a package. But the hesitation, people see that, people sense the hesitation. Whereas when people used to ask me back in the day, hey Bobby, how much does it cost for a GMAT course for a weekend? And I'd be like, back in the day, well, it's $1,500. And I knew that because I've been doing it for years and I had that confidence of just saying it just like that. So if you're hesitating when you're saying it, your price is too low, right? And or because don't because you're being apologetic for it. The other way to know your price too low is you're attracting needy or misaligned clients. These people who are always constantly trying to get that value, or people looking for freebies, or people are just trying to squeeze as much as they can. If they don't see the value, it's going to cause a lot of headaches. They're going to take up all of your time in the program when you need to focus on the people who really do value what you're doing. So you don't want to attract those needy or misaligned clients when your price is too low. Um, and the other reason your price is too low is that you're booked but you're not breathing. What that means is, if you're selling all your products at such a low price and you're at capacity and you can't make more money, then you can't breathe, you can't grow. So so if you have, let's say you have, 30 one-on-one clients and they're all paying, I'm making up a low figure, but let's say $200, right? $200. So now great, 200 times 30 that's like $6,000. Great. But now you have these clients for the next 3 to 6 months or something, and you can't breathe, you can't do anything else. And so it becomes a bit of a problem. And the other reason you know that your price is too low is you feel resentment instead of pride. When someone invests in you, you're like, oh man, or you feel resentment about what you're offering or having those clients, and you want to have clients you feel good about in the partnership that you have. Okay. So one of the things I kind of wanted to say about this is that if you're interested in what I've been talking about is, comment, reply, share what your thoughts are. I'd like to hear what your current prices of your offers. Tell me what they are. Or, tell me what you're considering for your offer, but you haven't actually said it out loud yet. Because I understand people don't want to say things out loud. But yeah, just DM me and let me know what you think. Because I think to me, it's going to go a long way to just once you get over the vulnerability and have the courage to share your price, I will give you my honest take, and I will also help work on the mindset, whether it's whether it's misaligned or how we can actually make it better. Because the truth is, if you are feeling vulnerable, if you are feeling discomfort, that discomfort, that is where the growth is. So hope you found this useful in terms of pricing your offer and making sure you have the right price, whether the pros, the cons, and what's good and what's bad. That's the whole point of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to hearing what offers you have out there. All right. Talk soon. Thanks so much for joining.